Hello dear students. So today we are starting with our first biology chapter of class 9th and the title of the chapter is The Fundamental Unit of Life. As the title is stating that fundamental unit means that is essential for life, without which life is not possible. So what will be the fundamental unit of life? Yes, you guessed right. The fundamental unit of life is the cell. So in this chapter we are going to discuss about cell. Cell is the part of the organism body which can perform various functions. If we see here, we can see that cell can perform various functions like it can do nutrition, which provides us energy. It can perform respiration, which provides oxygen, and oxygen supplies us energy from the food. It can perform excretion, which release out our toxic waste, poisonous waste in form of either sweat or in form of feces. Another function which can be performed by the cell itself is transportation of different materials to various parts. Cell can also perform reproduction. Reproduction, if you remember, is the process by which any organism gives birth to its young one, and those young ones will be of same kind, right? So you can see here that cell can perform different functions. All the functions performed by the cells are same, which can be performed by any living organism. So that's why we call cell as the fundamental unit of life. Clear? Now cell, if we look about cell is considered to be the building block of the organism body. Now this slide is showing you the organization of the organism body. Here we can see this organ system. Here are two organ systems which I want to explain. Plants and animal. These both are the organism body. Organism body is made up of organ system, and organ system is made up of many organs. Here you can see this organ system, this plant body has many organs like stem, leaf, flower, right? Here we are focusing on leaf. So in this organ system, leaf is an organ, and leaf is composed of many tissues, and these tissues are what? They are the group of cells. Here also in the human body, which is an organ system, here are many organ systems in the human body: respiratory system, reproductive system, excretory system, right? Here we are focusing on the circulatory system which supplies blood to all parts of the body. Of this system, we are taking one organ, heart, right? That is the organ of this organ system. And this heart, this organ, is composed of many tissues. And tissues are what? Yes, they are the group of cells. So this slide is showing you the organization. How an organism body is made up of many organ systems. Organ systems are made up of many organs, and organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are group of cells. So from here we can conclude what? That cell is the building block of organism body, right? Now if we look at this organization, this whole sequence from organism body till cells make an organization. Organism is an organization of cell. In the organism, different organ systems, they are working together to support the activities, to support the functions for the survival of the life. These organ systems are made up of many organs. These organ systems are made up of many organs. So suppose we are taking an example of circulatory system. Circulatory system is made up of many organs. Here it is shown heart, blood vessels, blood, they all are the organs of the organ system. So heart is an organ of this organ system. Heart itself is made up of different tissues which are working together to perform a specific function of circulation. This organ is made up of different tissues. Tissues are group of same type or different type of cells which are working together. Clear? So, cells are group of tissues. Either they are of same type or different type to perform a specific function. So, cells are the basic unit, the fundamental unit, the building block of the organism body. Clear? Very good. So, now what we can conclude? We can conclude that the definition of the cell will be that cell is the basic fundamental unit of life. Cell is capable to survive either individually, independently in unicellular organism where the single cell is performing all the functions, or in multicellular organisms where tissues, organ system are performing all the functions. Cells are capable to carry out different functions like nutrition, respiration, excretion, transportation and reproduction also. In unicellular organisms, they are capable of independent existence, and in multicellular, they are making the groups to perform specific functions. So, cell is the fundamental and the structural unit of life. Right? So, I hope the structure of cell is basic concept of the cell is clear. That cell is called to be the structural fundamental unit of life, functional unit also, fundamental, structural and fundamental unit of life. Now we will talk about the history, how the cell was discovered, okay? So, in the history of cell we see that first of all in 1665 Robert Hooke was the scientist who discovered the dead cork cells. He was observing the cork cells under primitive type of microscope and he observed some room-like, compartment-like structures. That was the first discovery in the field of cell biology. The first structure of cell was discovered by Robert Hooke, and what he observed? He observed the dead cork cells in 1665 under a primitive microscope. Okay, Robert Hooke. Next, Leeuwenhoek. Leeuwenhoek in 1674. He was the first scientist to observe living cells. And in what he observed the living cells? In pond water. Here you can see he has taken some sample of pond water and he saw some floating cells. This is the first living cell that was observed in 1674 by Leeuwenhoek. And later on, after many years, in 1831, it was discovered that there is the center part, dark colored center part in the cell by Robert Brown, and he named it as nucleus. Nucleus is called as the brain of the cell, controlling unit of the cell. So that is about the history. Let's revise. Robert Hooke in 1665 discovered cork cells which were dead. Leeuwenhoek discovered first living cells in pond water in 1674, and Robert Brown discovered the first time nucleus in 1831. Okay. Later on, cell theory was given. Cell theory, the theory that was explaining about structure or the organization of cell, and that theory was initially given by two scientists, Schleiden and Schwann. Schleiden and Schwann. Schleiden was working on plant cells and Schwann was working on animal cells, and they togetherly proposed a theory that is known as cell theory. And they have given two bullet points, 2 points of cell theory. The first point states that every living organism, they are made up of cells. That living organism can be unicellular. Unicellular, here you can see all these organisms, they have single cells. So the organism whose body are made up of single cells, unicellular. And they can be made up of, organism can be made up of many cells. They are called multicellular. So all the living organisms, they are made up of cells, either of one cells or of many cells, right? The second postulate, second point was that cell is the basic unit of structure, function and organization. That was the second point. So what was the first point? All living organisms are made up of cell, and cell is the basic unit of structure, function and organization. Later on, one more postulate was added in the cell theory by Virchow. And Virchow has added that he said he gave an statement, omnis cellula e cellulae, and that means that every new cell arises from pre-existing living cell. Here you can see this amoeba, it gets splitted into new amoeba, two daughters amoeba. Okay, so what is it is showing that every new cell arises from pre-existing living cell. This point was explaining the property of reproduction in cells. So this point was added later on by Virchow. That was also known as extension of cell theory. Right? So whenever the question comes about cell theory, what you will state? You will state all these 3 points, that first the cell is, all organism body are made up of cells. Cell is the basic unit of structure, function and organization, and every new cell arises from the pre-existing cells. So that makes our cell theory. Right? So till now we have discussed about the function. Cell is the basic unit of structure, function and organization. Here I want to clear out one more thing, that cells, they are not seen under by naked eyes. We are able to see cells only under microscope. Cells are made up of many parts. There are many parts in the cell, and these parts of the cell are called cell organelles, organs within the cells, and these organs or organelles, they are functioning different tasks. Okay. So on these organelles basis, we have broadly classified cells into two types, animal cells and the plant cells. Right? Plant cells, they are different from animal cells because they have specific organelles in them. The first organelle I want to mention, chloroplast, that is only present in plant cells. Chloroplast is actually like kitchen of the cell where the food is prepared in the plants. We know that plants are autotrophic. They can prepare their food by own. Who makes them capable of that? Chloroplast. Similarly, plant cells have one more structure, that is cell wall. It is like the main gate of your home, which allow exit or entry of any required person only. You open up your gate for the known ones whom you require. So cell wall is giving the entry. It is the protective wall for plants. So chloroplast and cell wall are the parts of the plant cells, only in plant cells. They are not present in animal cell. They are not present. The other parts are, this box-like structure is shown because box is used for packaging and transporting. So this packaging and transporting function is performed by Golgi apparatus within the cell. There is a factory for protein synthesis in the cell. They are ribosomes. There is a powerhouse to give energy for functions. The powerhouse of the cell is mitochondria. Now there is a protective layer around plant cells and animal cells both, that is cell membrane. This is common. This membrane is present in both plant cells and animal cells. And one more thing, that cells have the genetic information within them. Genetic information which is responsible for transferring characters from parents to their next generation. And that genetic information is stored in form of codes within the nucleus. Yes, nucleus, that was discovered by Robert Brown. This nucleus is the brain of the cell. That is also the part of the cell. Right? One more part is endoplasmic reticulum. This endoplasmic reticulum is giving the site for ribosomes to attach and to proceed the protein synthesis. So these are all the parts of the cells that we are going to discuss in this chapter. So that was the introduction for you about this chapter, about the history. That's all for today. Thank you. Bye.